Welcome to the Iowa Outdoorsman Podcast. Brought to you in part by Dakota Decoy Company, Nansen Farms, and Vitalize. And now your hosts, Brandon Hilton and Randy Thomas.
All right, we're back on the Iowa Outdoorsman Podcast. Today we have with us the founder and president of Trophy Bucks of Iowa. It's a huge online social media presence on Facebook and Instagram. We have Mr. Eric Kline. How you doing, Eric?
Great. How you guys doing? Glad to be here.
Doing well.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us, Eric. I know Hilton has some deer experience, but I'm not a deer hunter, so we'll have to pick your brain and you can teach me everything you know about it by the end of the podcast.
Well, I like to hunt deer, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't call myself an expert deer hunter.
I'm always reluctant to claim to be an expert anything myself, but one thing you've done really well is you've built a really cool thing with Trophy Bucks of Iowa. So I know there's a lot of things we're going to talk about, as we were talking about before we started recording, but let's just start with the beginning of Trophy Bucks of Iowa. What made you decide to do this? And I mean, I started Iowa Outdoorsman probably 14 years ago, and you have you've got 10 times the following on the Trophy Bucks as I've gotten. So let's talk about how you got started, why you got started, and how you got so successful.
Yeah, it's kind of just a fluke. I was in the military. I'd left Iowa State and graduated from a small town here in Iowa called Villisca. Went to Iowa State and joined the ROTC after 9/11, and then got commissioned as an Air Force officer and went off and did things around the world as a special agent for the Air Force. And I got injured. It's about almost 10 years ago. I got injured overseas on a training accident and tore my vertebral artery in my neck. Ended up having like 3 strokes from it. So lucky to be alive. Kind of changed my perspective on the world. And after that happened, I went to Walter Reed, and we lived out in DC for a while. I worked at NCIS headquarters out there in Quantico, and we did just living out in the DC area. And I could have stayed out there and made a lot of money with my security clearances and stuff. My wife and I were like, let's go raise our kids back in small town Iowa where we're from. 2015, 16, I think, when we moved back after I got retired. Hadn't found a job yet. I was kind of sitting around my parents' kitchen table, kind of looking. I kind of had to reinvent myself because there's not a lot of people hired federal agents in Iowa. So I kind of had to reinvent myself to find a job and just brainstorming. And I wasn't thinking about a job for this, but it was the middle of November, Thanksgiving and hunting season. I'm like, I'm going to create a Facebook page for friends and family just to share hunting photos. So I created it. I don't know why I called it Trophy Bucks of Iowa. My brother was sitting in there with me when we did it, and I just started messaging people I knew that were hunters, and I knew they'd killed big deer, or not big deer, just deer. Say, hey, can I post this picture on my page? And then from there it just kind of blew up. And then that was November. I think the following March, I was at the Deer Classic by myself, walking around with little decals I had made and just giving them to people and telling them about Trophy Bucks of Iowa. And from there, brought a couple other partners on. First my twin brother, Mark Kline, then I brought Ryan Boynton and Brandon Doms on to help out. And from there, it just skyrocketed. And a little over a year after I started it, we had a booth at the Deer Classic. We had a TV in the backdrop of our booth showing pictures we posted online, and kids were coming up and all excited to see their picture with their grandpa or whatever that they had shot that we had posted. So it just kind of blew up. I don't think I couldn't replicate it, and just a kind of a freak, I don't know, accident how it blew up. But it's people. What I think started it was people like, I personally don't watch hunting shows. I don't do a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of people do, but I wanted something that it wasn't about me. I don't want people to watch me go hunting, and I don't like watching other people hunt. So why does somebody want to watch me hunt? I want to do it myself. So I was like, people want to see other people's successes, if that makes sense. And whether it's big or small, um, a kid goes out turkey hunting or fishing with his grandpa or dad, and their dad or grandpa sends this picture to us. We post it on their page, and it gets hundreds of thousands of views. And the kid's pretty special for a couple days. He thinks he's big stuff at school, and it's pretty fun stuff. And then we get all these kids come up to us, and even other hunters that want to talk hunting and tell us their stories about the deer they shot that we posted for them. Like you'll never hardly ever see my face on Trophy Bucks of Iowa. No one knows who I am. People might know Brandon because he runs our Snapchat page, so he's on Snapchat all the time doing stuff. But most of us, you really don't know who we are because it's not about us. It's about everyone else and sharing their experiences and kind of helping promote Iowa and showing the good things we have here in Iowa as far as deer hunting. So like I said, people started they wanted a decal. I'm like, I don't have a decal, so I got decals made. And then they wanted a hat, so I got hats made. But it didn't start out that way. Just people were wanting stuff with the logo on it, and so I had to get a logo. I got a trademark. I got it copyrighted. Did that, and we sell some hats and shirts at Shields. We sell some food plot seed at Shields, and then we have our own website. And it's just kind of a hobby. Kind of pays for itself to buy future inventory for their stuff like that, and it's been a lot of fun. And we have a kind of a team that helps us out, probably depending on 10 to 20 people at a time helping us post pictures. So we get thousands and thousands and thousands of photos. So and we're not making any money doing this, so it's our free time, and our wives are yelling at us, our husbands are yelling at us because we're on the phone posting photos at night between conversation with the kids or whatever. So it's a big time commitment. Unfortunately, some people do get a little frustrated because they send us a picture and it might take a few weeks or a month to even get it posted, just because we have so many pictures coming in. But that's what makes our page unique. You go there every day, especially we try to post turkey pictures and stuff, but the main thing is during deer season, and we get so many pictures. So it takes a while to get them going, but it's been a good experience, and I met a lot of cool people because of the gig and done a lot of things. Started a nonprofit. Good friend of mine, Bill Mansky. He lives up in Algona, but he has some property down here where I live down in Southwest Iowa. It's kind of his baby, but called Making a Difference Outdoors. He's been taking a lot of disabled veterans and kids with disabilities like cancer, spina bifida, just any kind of illness or disability, hunting. We've been doing it for years, and I've been helping them out. And we finally made a nonprofit so we could more efficiently go about it and cover people's expenses and stuff like that. And Making a Difference Outdoors. We're just getting that up and going. Got the IRS approval and everything. So this will be our first year deer hunting and stuff with kids and veterans that we're actually a nonprofit. So that'll be cool. We bring the kids into usually Bedford area. Bill has a really nice cabin there, lots of land. Bring the kid and the veteran and their family for a few days or a week. Just no expenses. Just have them hang out and hunt. And if they might shoot a deer, they might shoot a doe, they might shoot a buck, they might shoot a coyote, they might shoot all three. So it just gets them out to have some fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I know you said it's kind of a fluke it took off, but I think it's there's a little bit of karma involved. I mean, a lot of people do stuff like that for the attention to themselves, but if you're doing it for other people, I think it's kind of rewarding a good cause.
Yeah, and I was kind of ignorant at the time because, I'd been out of Iowa for so long. I like to deer hunt and stuff, but I hadn't been in the deer hunting community per se. Looking back, there were so many people making kind of similar stuff. Mm-hmm. It was more about them, like hunting teams and about them and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. And I didn't really realize that. And I just kind of
was the.
I guess I'm lucky I didn't know that. Yeah. It just kind of blew up. So
that was kind of the heyday of the back window truck decal days too. So yeah. And kind of segue, like you said, we don't know a lot about you from the page. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in the outdoors and how you got into it and what?
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in a small town called Villisca, Southwest Iowa, Montgomery County, about 1,000 people. I think I had 37 in my class. One was my twin brother. Um, I pheasant hunted and deer hunted when I was a kid. Just kind of fun, social hunters, nothing crazy. Just good time going out to the cabin on deer hunting weekend with my dad, my uncle, and cousins and stuff like that. And um, met my high school sweetheart there, still married to her today, Kelly. And her dad's a local taxidermist, so that got me kind of more involved because I always saw that part of it. And then went to college, went to Iowa State. I'd come back during deer season. I'd come back on the weekends and try to hunt. And then I went off to the military, and they sent me to Florida. I didn't want to hunt in Florida because it's too hot. Then they sent me to Hawaii. Same thing. I don't like hunting when it's hot. They have deer out there, but they're on the different islands, and it's not real cheap. And didn't really hunt, and so I didn't hunt. I didn't hunt at all until I came back. So it was a good 14 years that I didn't hunt at all. But when I was in the military, and then I came back and I could deer hunt again. And like I said, I was sitting at the kitchen table and wondering what to do. And between my job searching, because I had to reinvent myself, and took a break and decided to just make this page. And from there, and then I got was going so great. Got my truck wrapped with TBI. It was pretty cool. So I got to drive that around Iowa for a few years. I just took that off about a year or so ago, and I'm going to get a new one here pretty soon and wrap it again. So it's kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, it's been a cool experience to follow too, and kind of going back, when you mentioned, 2015 and kind of reinventing yourself, you were in Des Moines at the time, and I remember my wife actually brought home a hat that you had given her to give to me.
Yeah.
How we met each other.
Yep. She said you were a hunter, and I was like, here we go.
Yeah, I still have that hat around, and that's the cool thing. You got something that's going well, and you're giving back. The youth hunt, the military stuff. I've noticed the military guys. You're such a tightly knitted brotherhood. We have a good buddy that's a ex-military waterfowl guide up in Hecla, South Dakota, Alex Russo with Flatland Flyways, and he does wounded warrior hunts and gives back. And I've noticed there's a lot of that goes on within that brotherhood of the military, and I think it's great giving back to them and giving back to the kids. So of that stuff, what's of the nonprofit so far? What's the coolest experiences you've had with these kids or veterans or whoever you're working with?
Just the experience. I mean, all the kids. I think all three of the kids that I've been involved with the last 3 years have shot just as big or bigger deer than I've ever shot. Because Bill's got some pretty good deer, and we kind of save them for them. He saves them for them to give them the opportunity to harvest something, not just regular, but give them the opportunity to harvest something big. I mean, one of the memories is a few years ago, one of the kids had spina bifida, and Bill was with him. I wasn't with him at the time at the cabin, but the kid was so excited when that buck came out, he started vomiting in the deer blind. And he was so excited, he started vomiting everywhere in the deer blind. Luckily, he was in a deer blind, got his composure, and killed that deer. And then that was pretty cool. So. You were talking about the veterans. Veterans just have I guess we understand each other a little better than everyone else. I mean, like when I moved back here, it's kind of like people thought I was kind of like I wouldn't say, but luckily where I used to work with your wife, they kind of saw my background and what I was capable of. And they didn't look at me just like a lot of people look at you as, oh, you're war broken, or you're just, you know what I'm saying? They don't look at you as a regular, like, I mean, I was an officer. I was leading 40 to 50 people at a time. I had a master's degree, but they didn't see it on my resume. They just saw me as a veteran, and not like someone who could be working at an office scenario in Iowa per se. So there's a lot of stigma on veterans, like, oh, you have PTSD and stuff like that. Yeah, some people do, but we're all pretty much normal. We're all good people. For the most part. I mean, you have some bad apples, just like every other facet of life, but I think we understand each other a little better than most, so we try to look after each other a little better.
Yeah, I could definitely see that stigmatism that comes around, that comes with it, and kind of letting people know who you are as a person rather than what you did for work. But as far as the site, what's one thing you really want to build the most of? What do you want to come up with the most? Is there one portion of it you want to build up more, or do you plan on just kind of staying where you are and
Well,
building the whole thing, or do you want to put more eggs in one basket?
well, I mean, we got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got TikTok, we got Snapchat. But like I'm saying, this is kind of a hobby, so it's like we got opportunities every day to monetize this thing
Hmm.
or sell it, and it's not what we made it for.
Yeah.
It's people don't come to our page to get advertisements thrown at them nonstop every day about certain hunting brands or hunting stuff. I mean, we'll do a little bit of stuff, but we're not going to do every day just throwing stuff down people's throat. So we don't want to make it that. So we want to keep it kind of that way. Keep it about everyone else, not about us. Like I said, you won't ever hardly see me on there unless I'm doing something with a veteran or something like that or a kid. Um, so I wanted to stay true to our roots. And like I said, it's a hobby, so we can only put so much time to it. I mean, we need. I know, like we need to make our website better. I know that. I'd like to make it more like right now. So we're put it this way: we're so busy right now. We haven't even put our shop back up since the Deer Classic because
Oh,
we haven't put our clothing back. It's still unorganized. That's how busy we are with our kids and stuff like that. And that's our priority right now. But hopefully that'll be up in a few weeks. But I'd like to get the website up and going a little better to have not just the store where we sell stuff, but more um, hunting related stuff, like sharing like, okay, we shared this really cool picture of like this 12-year-old that shot a deer with his dad, and what's the story behind that deer and the
mhm.
kid. So let's put that story on the website. That way it's on the website, and the website you can kind of control, whereas you just never know. One day Facebook could say, oh, we don't like that picture with a gun in it, we're going to block your account. The same with
Mhm.
Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, Snapchat. You just never know what they could do. They could just ruin your business just like that by taking something and they don't communicate with you and stuff like that. So that's kind of frustrating. So I want to get it kind of more because kind of right now it's really heavily on Facebook, but TikTok is really big. Brandon's got a huge following on TikTok. I mean, every TikTok he does, thousands and thousands and thousands of views, and half the stuff's not even hunting related. He's just showing his regular life, which is interesting, and people like it. And so I kind of want to get away from, I guess, just diversify. So we're not really stuck into one area. Because some people like you go to the Deer Classic and like, well, we follow on Instagram. Like, do you follow us on Facebook? Oh, we don't follow. We don't have Facebook. We just have Instagram. So we got to kind of you're going to reach different people for different avenues, and it's not easy to post something to Facebook and have to go to Instagram and Twitter and all at the same time. So working through that and stuff like that. So hopefully get the website up and running and make that just a little better. We can put some more posts and stories on that.
Makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, all these social media platforms, I know, I'm surprised TikTok does so well for you guys because my experience, one of the worst when it comes to hunting related
Yeah, we
things.
don't we don't really put much on there because if you have, I think you can't even say gun or you can't even have a gun
Yeah,
picture on there or
no,
anything. So it's like,
I've been flagged for the guns.
yeah. So
And
it's like,
dead birds are a no no.
yeah.
But
So
and it's funny because everybody started building essentially businesses off of social media platforms like pages and such, and stuff like that could come along and wipe their page out. But
yeah, they just
they,
literally delete it, and you can't even
yeah,
like they don't even tell you why, what you did wrong, and you can't even get a hold of anybody to talk to about it. It's kind of crazy. So
exactly. But then you got the old web pages. That's your real freedom of speech, where you could do what you want and you could tell your full story and show all the pictures from it. So it's
yeah,
pretty cool you
exactly.
guys put those stories up there because we get so stuck on watching a short video or looking at a picture and not reading the story behind it that it's nice to go back to that sometimes and
Exactly.
read
Yep.
what all went into it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I experienced some, or I should say, I had bad experience with my Facebook page a few years ago. After almost 10 years in, got hacked, couldn't get a hold of anybody, and just lost it all, and almost gave
Yep.
up. Rebuilding was awful, and yeah, it wasn't that fun. But here we are a few years later, we got it back up and rolling. But all the social media and website stuff aside, you mentioned this is all hobby stuff. But I know it. You were in Des Moines working at Wellmark, starting the trophy buck stuff. You picked up, moved back to small town Iowa. So now you got the hobby stuff that keeps you busy. The kids keeping you busy, but you got the regular life stuff. So you got Kline Outdoors. You're selling deer blinds and feeders, and are you also a land agent?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Klein Outdoors. Because of Trophy Bucks of Iowa, just kind of, I saw a lot of muddy and hawk blinds. Um, I was just kind of doing it to friends in the area, and I kind of expanded it last year. So I'm selling a lot of muddy and hawk blinds, banks blinds, in the area of Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri. So I appreciate all support I'm getting for my veteran-owned business. I sell some feeders too as well, Boss Buck feeders. So that's kind of the hobby as well. That I do sell land, hunting land as well, in houses and stuff. I'm kind of like, in order to be fair to your clients, I'm not really a full-time agent. I kind of think you kind of need a full-time agent sometimes, because I have a full-time job, so I can't be taking land calls all the time and stuff like that. So I'm mostly a referral agent right now. Like, I'll put two guys together that I know he has some land to sell. I know he's looking for land, and I'll put those two guys together and make it happen. Because I don't have the time to dedicate right now to give a client the best customer service, just because of my full activities with my job and my four kids. So that's with the land stuff. And then I got my full-time job. I'm a sales guy. I travel around, for sales for my real job as well. So I got a lot of sticks in the fire, and I just try to keep my head afloat.
So yeah, and that, yeah, it sounds like you're super busy. But if somebody did want to reach out and do business with you on the Kline Outdoors, is it KlineOutdoors.com? What's the website?
Yep, KlineOutdoors.com, KLINE Outdoors.com. There's a Facebook page. There's an Instagram page. There's even a TikTok. But yeah, KlineOutdoors.com. Search me on Google, you'll find it, or any website. I'm happy to help and happy to give good deals on deer blinds and tell you what you need and what you don't need. So.
4 kids. It sounds like this stuff's going to be ran in the house here in a few years.
Yeah, I got 3 boys, a freshman, a sophomore freshman, and gonna be a 6th grader, and then a little girl we adopted a few years ago from China. She is 7. So that's my princess. I got the little girl. Had to go to China to get her, but yeah, they're all. My oldest boy's into hunting. My youngest boy's into hunting. My middle boy hasn't really showed much interest, and I'm not gonna. If he wants to hunt, he'll come around to it. So he hasn't hunted. My youngest boy's hunted. He's been out 3 times, and I think he shot a buck each time. Just kind of lucky. My little girl wants to go hunting, she says. So when she gets a little older, I'll take her hunting. So that's my priorities right now, is my kids, and my wife works full time as well. She's going back to get her master's degree, so we're just busy. So I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to the hobbies, but I try to make it happen.
I get it. It's my kids aren't I've got a senior and a freshman, or my boys, and my daughter's off in college now. But
Yep.
you mentioned having 2 that want to hunt. It's hard to take 2 kids hunting if you're trying to get them both deer or pheasant hunting or anything. When you have 2 young kids, to take them hunting together or to try to divide them up, you're talking a whole nother layer of issues that you got to
Exactly. That's one thing. That's actually one of the reasons we got into deer blinds, because it's easy to take kids hunting with a deer blind, because they don't have to be in camo. They don't have to be all. I mean, they can be bundled up. You have a buddy heater in there. Keep your scent in there. They can talk to you, and they're not going to get bored, because you give them your phone, give them your iPad, and they can sit in the corner and just play for an hour or two, so they don't get. Because I see a lot of times when the kids, they go out hunting with their dad and they sit in a tree freezing their rear off, and it's a bad experience. They don't want to go ever again. So to kind of get around that, if you have a deer blind put them in there, and then they'll get to that excitement because they'll eventually see something and see the animal and get excited about it. Whereas that might not have happened in the tree because they would have left already because they were cold and miserable. So then they'll get to that experience, and then they won't need a blind in the future per se, but it keeps them interested.
Yeah,
So I see a lot of grandpas and dads. I see a lot of grandpas and a lot of grandpas buying blinds for that same reason, take their grandkids out.
So as far as the nonprofit goes, if somebody was interested in doing one of those hunts, what's that process look like? Is it a application process, or
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty right now. It's pretty informal, and believe it or not, it's not. We've had kind of trouble finding kids for it that wanted to do it for some reason. You'd think we'd get a lot, but yeah, we got a Facebook page called Make a Difference Outdoors, or you can send a message to Kline Outdoors or Trophy Bucks of Iowa. We'll get it all figured out. But yeah, if you got a kid right now, specifically Iowa residents, because you know the rules as far as getting a deer tag in Iowa. We might start looking at Missouri because we're close to Missouri, getting something down there later where anybody can hunt. But if you know a kid or a disabled veteran, when I say disabled veteran, not disabled, it's just a disabled veteran is a term where anybody who had any type of injury or illness during the military qualifies as a disabled veteran. But and they want to go on a hunt, have them reach out and we'll figure something out.
So this fall coming up, do you have people booked and lined up already? Or are you looking for people?
I'm not quite sure if Bill has anybody yet. We just kind of had a tragedy here last weekend. One of the local kid from Bedford that kind of helps us out, Cleveland Beeson, he was killed in a UTV accident just Saturday night, and so I'm not sure what's going to happen right now. He was just releasing pheasants for us last weekend at the farm there for Making Difference Outdoors. So we're still kind of in shock about all that. So we're not quite sure yet, but we'll get that information out pretty soon.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. That's awful.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, we all kind of take those things for granted, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
I know Tim Ground's one of the best goose call makers callers that exist died in an ATV accident. It's just become something you take for granted because you always feel safe.
Well, and they're getting so fast nowadays, and so it's a bad deal.
Well, it sounds though like you're doing a lot of good things, and it's always a great story to hear. You know, the guys that you know, even though you're not getting rich, maybe necessarily on
absolutely not.
The Trophy Bucks, but you're giving back. I mean, you've got a platform and you're able to give back, and you're doing it, and that's the great story behind it. And I really like hearing that, and you know, that's a story I don't think a lot of people probably know and needs to get out, that you guys are out there making that difference for people. You know?
Yeah, and I mean it's just good, and I'm happy to do it. And some people still don't know what it is. Even local people around here think I'm a deer outfitter. Because they don't really follow. They're not hunters. They don't follow the Facebook page much, but they just think I'm a big deer hunter, and I take people hunting, like charge people to go hunting, which I don't have time to take myself hunting, let alone take other people hunting. And I would never. I don't want to have the pressure of taking people hunting because I can't even find myself a big deer, let alone find somebody else a big deer. So I don't want anything to do with that. So there's still a little confusion on it, but yeah, we're just some guys and gals having a good time and trying to make life better for everyone and life more interesting.
So, but hey, Eric, no, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell us the story. Like I said, I've been following you since you started, and you guys are doing a lot of great stuff over there. So
Appreciate it.
Best of luck to you guys this fall with whatever you got going on, and we'll just keep looking for those pictures coming through.